All right, hello. My name is Marco Castellana, and I am VP Products of Einstein here. And I'm joined today by Surin Devraj, who is going to be coming up here and doing a demo a little bit later. The purpose of this session, well, there are Einsteins everywhere. I mean, for those of you who are watching Salesforce, as most of you surely are, we have Einstein Analytics, we have Sales Cloud Einstein, and Service Cloud Einstein, and Marketing Cloud Einstein, and Conference Cloud Einstein, and all kinds of Einsteins everywhere. And that causes a great deal of confusion. Now, in general, we do use the Einstein brand to denote something that's powered by machine learning, something that is AI. And that is generally legitimately the case. We generally don't brand something Einstein unless it really is powered by machine learning. But the goal of today's session is to give you a view of what all the different Einstein capabilities are, what they're actually made of, and hopefully give you an idea of what you actually can do with it. Because one thing that Einstein is not is marketing fluff. That is a common misconception, I think. I was talking to somebody the other day who really didn't think that Einstein was actually a thing. They thought it was just a marketing construct. That's not true. There's actually thousands of customers today that are using Einstein in its various forms, thousands of Salesforce customers. And in fact, here's a little foreshadowing. I will say that in the very near future, all of you will be using Einstein, whether you want to or not. It's just going to be baked into certain parts of Salesforce you'll see at Dreamforce. But we're going to give you a view of what Einstein is today. Before we get into it, though, the purpose of artificial intelligence is to make forward-looking statements. But if I make any forward-looking statements today, please make your purchasing decisions based solely on present functionality. Now, as I said, Einstein is many things. There are lots of different Einstein capabilities. There are, I think, over 35 Einstein capabilities that are now live. So there's lots of different capabilities, and there's an Einstein now in every Salesforce cloud. So every Salesforce cloud has some artificial intelligence either baked into it or that you can buy. And so here, we're going to go through some of those things. Now, unfortunately, given the time constraints of this session, we couldn't possibly go through every Einstein capability. That would literally take us, I think, 2.5 or 3 hours to do. So that is a much deeper dive than we can do today, but we'll do our best to cover as many of these Einstein capabilities as possible. So now, if we dig into this a little bit, say Sales Cloud Einstein. Sales Cloud Einstein was the first Einstein to come out, and that came out in February of 2017. So believe it or not, Einstein is only just a little over 2 years old. So amazingly, it's come a pretty long way in a pretty short time. But Sales Cloud Einstein was the first Einstein, and it started with lead scoring. So in lead scoring, the question is, yes or no, is this lead going to convert or not? And what we return here is a score. We also have, as part of Sales Cloud Einstein, opportunity scoring, where the question there is this opportunity going to close or not? And then we have Einstein forecasting. Einstein forecasting basically gives you an idea of, for each individual deal, and then on a macro scale, how much, is this deal going to close or not? How much is it going to close for? And when you roll them all up, where am I going to end up at the end of this quarter or at the end of this month? So it's to kind of give your sales managers some idea of where they're going to land. Now, in Service Cloud, it's using the exact same underlying platform, and yet the questions are totally different, and the way that it shows itself is completely different. So Service Cloud Einstein is now available, came out in February, and it includes case classification. Case classification is a very interesting feature. So I was actually one of the original developers of the Service Cloud product back in 2005. And then I left Salesforce, and one of the companies that I went to during my time away from Salesforce was RingCentral. RingCentral has tons and tons of customers, and they take a whole bunch of cases by email. The problem with that is, when you take a case by email, it has nothing but a subject and a description, and pretty much nothing else. Sometimes you know the contact record, sometimes you don't. And so RingCentral had a crew of 20 people in Manila, and their whole job was they would just read these cases as they came in, and they would categorize them. They say, this one's voice quality, this one's networking, this one's about the phone. They were basically acting as human routers, and they were routing these cases to the other divisions of support so that those divisions could actually provide support. So now this is something that we can automate now with the wonderful world of AI. And imagine these 20 people could actually be providing customer support instead of just routing stuff around. So what case classification does is it learns from your previous history of cases. It effectively kind of does the same thing. It reads the cases, it reads the subject and the description, and it finds the correlation to categories. But that reduces still to a set of yes and no questions. Yes or no, is this case going to escalate or not? Yes or no, is this account and billing or not? Is it shipping or not? Is it networking or not? Is it whatever or not? So there's a whole bunch of yes and no questions stacked on top of each other. So unlike in Sales Cloud, what you don't see here is a score. Because even though we do have all these yes and no questions and the response to that is kind of a score or probability, well, we can't show that here because these are all yes and no questions stacked on top of each other. And so in case classification, and actually this is a slightly old screenshot that I intended to change because when it actually went live, what your agents will see, if you put this up for some agents, is what they'll see now is this is the best recommendation from Einstein and nothing else. So we've simplified it to such a degree that people that are very entry-level contact center agents will be able to work with it. And that's case classification. But Service Cloud Einstein is actually more than just case classification. It also includes next best action, which Sarin is going to show you in a little while, and also Einstein bots. So bots, it allows you to make a chatbot. Does it integrate? Well, bots does, yes. So bots can be, at least it can be escalated to a live agent. Yeah, does case classification integrate to omnichannel? Not yet exactly, but it will shortly. So in fact, what the problem is now is not yet real time. So right now it can be delayed as much as an hour, which doesn't really help you with your omnichannel routing. However, we are beginning a pilot in June with the real-time scoring, which will in fact exactly drive omnichannel routing. So good question, thank you. All right, so I'm not going to go into every individual cloud's Einstein because we don't really have time for that, but suffice it to say that each cloud has an Einstein and that each one has, so what they are pre-built questions. It's important to note that when Einstein builds a prediction, any kind of prediction, whether it's lead scoring, case classification, this prediction is built solely for you and solely on your data. So we don't mix customer data or any of that stuff to arrive at these predictions. Now, sometimes that means that you may not have enough data. You may not have enough history to make such a prediction, in which case, yes, Einstein will throw up. But most of the time, we find that our customers do, in fact, have enough data to make these predictions. And so fortunately, we are now after lunch, so I feel like it's an okay time for me to talk about Taco Bell. Now, Taco Bell has, for those of you who haven't been to Taco Bell, it has an extensive menu. They have a giant menu of like 100 things of, Crunchwrap Supremes and tacos, double-decker tacos and Taco Supreme, Mexican pizzas and 7-layer burritos. But by and large, as it's well known, all of these tasty menu items are made with 6 main ingredients: beef, lettuce and tomatoes, beans and tortillas. And with those 6 ingredients, they make all of these tasty menu items. So by that same token, Einstein is also made of 6 ingredients. And with these 6 ingredients, we make all of these tasty menu items. So the first ingredient, we've alluded to it now a couple of times, is a yes and no question. Yes and no questions are like the cheese. They're pretty much in every Einstein everywhere. Those form the bulk of the almost 8 billion predictions per day that we're making today are yes and no questions. In lead scoring, it is yes and no. Is this lead going to convert or not? In case classification, yes or no, is this case going to escalate or not? But that now you can build custom predictions, as Sarin will show you in a little bit, like yes or no, is this customer going to churn or not? Yes or no, are you going to pay your bill on time or not, is another popular one that people build. So you can get a lot of mileage just out of yes and no questions. And in fact, it's the most accurate type of machine learning question or question you can ask of machine learning today. The next ingredient is numeric predictions. So, how much is this deal going to close for? How many days is it going to take you to pay your bill versus yes or no, you're going to pay it later or not? How many used cars should I put on this lot in Irvine next month? Those are all examples of numeric predictions. Now, as I mentioned, Einstein forecasting is actually using a mix of 2 of these ingredients. So there is a yes and no question there. Yes or no, is this opportunity going to close or not? Well, we show that as a score to you, but in fact, the natural output to a yes and no question from a machine learning system like Einstein wants to be a probability. So yes or no, is this deal going to close or not? And that would return like, yes, this deal has like a 25% chance of closing. And then next to that, we built another prediction. How much is this deal going to close for? So let's say you have a deal. This deal is going to close. It's expected to close, 25% probability of closure. And let's say Einstein predicts it'll close at $100,000. And so we multiply those two things together, and you get your predicted expected value, $25,000. 25% times $100,000. And then we roll those all up for a month or for a quarter. That's what Einstein forecasting is. Now, these predictions are not always correct. It's not that easy to predict the future. But if you're using Einstein forecasting, let's say that you're a sales manager or an RVP, and you're looking at a deal, and the rep says, this deal is going to close this quarter for $1 million. And Einstein says, this deal is not going to close this quarter, and it's $100,000. Something there is wrong. It might be Einstein. Einstein might not be right. There might not have been enough data put on the opportunity for Einstein to make a valid prediction, for one thing. But regardless, the idea is that this allows sales managers and RVPs to prioritize their time. Where they see a delta between what Einstein is saying and what the rep is saying, something there is wrong. That's a place where a manager should be focusing. And that's really a theme of many of the Einstein capabilities. It's about allowing people to prioritize their time. That's certainly true of lead scoring. It's certainly true of case classification, true of Marketing Cloud Einstein that Seren will show you. It's about helping you prioritize your time. That's what Einstein is really all about. So the next ingredient, classifications. So we apply that, for example, in our bot system, we apply that to text. You make an utterance to the bot. My order is late, and I want to cancel. Well, what does that mean? What is that? Is that a shipping question? Is it a billing question? Is it a cancellation question? Is it a new order? So we extract an intent from that, and that drives what the bot is going to say next. That's called intent extraction. And then we do named entity recognition. So we're looking in there. Well, what order? You want to cancel an order? What order? Order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, order 5, 4, 6, 9, whatever. We're looking for named entities. That is names, numbers, account names, whatever, that we can pull out to fill slots that we need to fill to do the next step in the workflow. Because like if you're canceling an order, we need to know what order do you want to cancel. That's a slot that we need to fill. So we apply these classifications to text. We can also apply them to images. So that's what Einstein Vision really is. Let's say I take a picture of this room. Are there people in this room? How many people are in this room? How many men? How many women? Those are the kinds of questions that you can answer with Einstein Vision, with the classifications that are provided in there. And now, for those of you who were at the keynote, you'll notice that we've added some new capabilities in that area that are currently in pilot. So we have translation that can do about 21 different languages, about 400 different language pairs. And on the vision side, we are now adding also OCR, optical character recognition, to be able to read stuff like licenses, license plates, forms, those kinds of things. So then we have recommendations. Now, a prediction, the problem is a prediction is just a number. A prediction doesn't do anything. And so you want to make it do something. You want to convert that into a tangible action. And that's where recommendations come in. And I won't talk too much about that because Seren is going to be coming up in just a moment to demonstrate that capability. But suffice it to say, that is a key ingredient of the Einstein stack. Now, some of you may have noticed also, when you walk right into the second floor here, there is a giant phone, like sitting up there, that is showcasing our upcoming voice applications. Well, there's not just one upcoming voice application, actually, but the one that they're showcasing up there is the Einstein Assistant and allows you to dictate notes into your phone and basically operate the mobile app that way rather than clicking around all over the place. But voice is an emerging ingredient of Einstein. You're going to see more and more voice-enabled capabilities as we progress in this and next year. So voice is a brand new capability. And finally, the last ingredient, the tortilla, is workflow and rules. Workflow and rules, it's not very sexy. It's not really technically a part of artificial intelligence per se, but when I talk about making a recommendation from a prediction, that is actually a rules system. When you think about Marketing Cloud, in a moment Seren's going to demonstrate Marketing Cloud. Bear in mind that what Marketing Cloud really is, outside of its Einstein machine learning capabilities, is a giant rules engine that says, I want to send this email to men over 35 in California. Those are my rules. So these workflow rules allow you to take action and to automate actions based on predictions. And those are absolutely necessary to make artificial intelligence work at scale. So with that, I'd like to bring the wonderfully handsome Surin Devraj up to the stage to give us all a demo on some of these fine technologies.
Thank you, Marco. Hey, everybody. Yeah, round of applause for Marco. Thanks, Marco. Hey, everybody. My name is Surin Devraj, and I'm a product marketing manager here on the Einstein team. And I'll be doing a demo. And the demo is going to be actually twofold. So the first demo is going to be mainly about Marketing Cloud Einstein. And that's just another pre-built template consisting of yes or no questions that you can just turn on and use with your data today. And then I'm also going to be demoing a few capabilities on the Einstein platform, Einstein Next Best Action and Einstein Prediction Builder. And those are custom AI components that Salesforce admins and developers can create custom predictions with. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so in the scenario of this, I am a marketer at Northern Trail Outfitters, and they're just a local outdoor retail brand. And Northern Trail Outfitters is really trying to get a little bit more on the cutting edge of technology. So they bought Marketing Cloud Einstein to try and make their marketers have a little bit more productivity. And so right now, we're looking at Einstein engagement scoring. Einstein engagement scoring is actually one of the most popular features for Einstein that we have. In fact, we have over thousands of customers using it, like Marco was mentioning. And it boils down to 4 main yes or no questions. So if we see in the bottom left here, if we send an email, the question here is, will this person open it or not? Yes or no? And as we move over to the right, will this subscriber click on something inside the email? Yes or no? Will the subscriber convert on this email? And you can set a conversion to whatever you want. For example, it could be downloading the white paper or purchasing an item or clicking on a link. Yes or no? And then finally, will the subscriber stay subscribed or not, which is the actual inverse of whether they'll unsubscribe or not. So again, these are the 4 main yes or no questions that are used for Marketing Cloud Einstein, and these are pre-built, so you can just turn them on. And so let's go ahead and view the details to see what's under the hood and see what's actually driving these predictions. So as you can see here, we have a bunch of different signals that lead up to our prediction of the likelihood to open an email or not. So we have a bunch of different signals, right? For example, one is opened in the last 90 days. And opened in the last 90 days this is kind of data that marketers are capturing all the time. Same as subscriber country or subscriber city. They're capturing this data about their subscribers. And so this is a great way for marketers to really trust the predictions that are happening because it's using the data that's already there, data that they're already capturing, and we're just turning it on and we're just allowing the predictions to be created. And also, this is completely tailored to your own data. So the data, the opened in last 90 days value for a specific subscriber for Northern Trail Outfitters will be different than for a different company. So this is all unique and tailored to your own data. And so, like Marco said, a prediction is just a number. So the average likelihood to open an email, that's just a number. But you need a way to take action on that, a way to actually make it happen or make some value out of that prediction. So that's where we go to Audience Builder. And Audience Builder is where marketers spend a lot of their day. So really, we're in the filter section. And Audience Builder, we're allowed to create audiences based off of different we create audiences and we send different pieces of correspondence to our different audiences. And so this one, we're looking at cross-sell men's fashion audience. And right now, it's segmented by a few different filters. So right now, we're segmenting it based off of males who have purchased gear. So that's how we've currently segmented it. But we want to make our prediction, we want to make this segmentation smart. We want to bring Einstein into it. We want to bring this prediction into these current rules. So what we do is we go to this Einstein engagement scoring tab, and we want to bring in the prediction of, we want to send this email, we want to send this correspondence to people who have the highest likelihood of opening the email. So we're going to pick email open likelihood and see most likely here and just drag that over and add that as another filter for this segment. And just like that, as easy as that, we were able to turn this yes or no prediction into a way where we're taking action and really turning it into something meaningful. And we've seen a ton of success with this. We've seen a ton of success with this current feature. For example, Lids, the hat company, they actually use Einstein engagement scoring, and they've been able to increase their open rates significantly because of this, and that's mainly because they're sending just way less emails. They're sending emails to people who the content will actually resonate with, and because of that, their unsubscribe rates have actually gone down. And so now, so that's Marketing Cloud Einstein. These are pre-built features. This is all stuff that you can turn on, and these are pre-built yes or no questions. But what if you want some yes or no questions that aren't pre-built? What if you want questions that answer what if you want to answer questions such as whether a customer will churn or attrit? Well, let's switch gears into the next demo. So in this demo here, I'm a service rep, and I'm a service rep at a telecom company, and I'm getting a call from one of our customers, Anna Van Loan, and Anna Van Loan is just asking about her phone service. And so what I do is, as a service rep, I pull up her contact record. And here on the contact record, as you can see on the right, I have two really cool components that that my Salesforce admin has built for me. And so as you can see on the top, we have a likelihood to attrition component. Now this was a custom component built by Einstein Prediction Builder to answer the yes or no question of will this customer attrit or not? And right now, we're in the danger zone. 27% is actually really high. And we see the top predictive factors, such as the payment method is electronic check. That's how Anna is paying every month. She's sending us she's creating a physical electronic check. And so as we scroll down here, we see an Einstein next best action component, which is recommending me as a service rep to offer Anna an auto renew plan, which will save her $600 a year and will hopefully drive that likelihood of attrition down. So I'm on the phone with Anna, I see these things, and I ask her, hey Anna, would you want to save $600 by being part of the auto renew plan? And she is totally ecstatic about that. So we hit accept, and when you hit accept on a recommendation for Einstein next best action, it kicks off a lightning flow, which is pretty much a series of steps that walk the user through a process. And in this case, this is just checking the auto renew field on on Anna's particular contact record. So now Anna is auto renewed. And if we just refresh the screen, boom. We see on the right, our likelihood of attrition for Anna has decreased to 7, so we're good now. And because we're good, because Anna has a low likelihood of attrition, Einstein Next Best Action is offering up a series of upsell offers to try and sell her maybe a new online security solution. So now you're probably wondering, okay, I've seen these products, I see how they work, I've heard a bunch of use cases. How are they actually built? Well, it's easy, and I'll show you how. First, let's look at Einstein Prediction Builder, and we go into the Setup tab. So Setup, Einstein Prediction Builder is the first card here on the left-hand side. Just click on Get Started. And now we see our likelihood of attrition prediction that we created, the yes or no prediction. And let's just view the scorecard to see the quality of the prediction. And we've got a good prediction quality. This prediction quality is an 84. Anywhere between a 78 to 95 is great. And if we click into the Predictors tab, we can see what kind of signals are relating to this prediction, almost like what I was showing you in Marketing Cloud Einstein for the open likelihood prediction. And so here we can see that a month-to-month contract, what Anna was initially on, had a huge correlation with attrition compared to 1 year and a 2-year contract. So it's really interesting. But now let's go ahead and actually see what it's like to build a prediction. It's super easy, and it only takes a few clicks. So what you would do is you'd click on this new prediction button right here. But for the sake of this demo, we're just going to go ahead and clone this prediction and walk through the steps together. So the first thing you do is you just name your prediction. So we're going to name it likelihood of attrition 1. And then you pick the object that you want to predict on. So in this case, we want to predict on contacts. We want to predict on people like Anna Van Loan because we want to see whether our contacts will attrit or not. And you can also segment this audience based off of different things like where they're located, like Arizona or California. But in this case, we're actually just going to focus on all of our contacts. And then you choose the field that you want to predict. So this is where you start training your data for the model to be created. And so in order to train your data for this model, you need to look at past data to see what has happened before. So we see this churn field, and this churn field indicates whether our past contacts have left or not, yes or no. And you can also and then you also want to indicate which ones to use as examples. And in this case, we're gonna pick contacts that have been with us for over 12 months. And now you're taken to a step where you get to select or deselect the fields that you want to be incorporated into this prediction. Now, these are the signals that I was showing you earlier that could that influence what the prediction is. And we generally recommend keeping all of them checked, but we understand that sometimes you might have PII for your different contacts, so you can go in and manually uncheck the fields that have PII if you don't want to include them. And then lastly, you just name the label for the field. So Einstein Prediction Builder will create a different field for this prediction. So every contact will have a prediction likelihood. And so this will be a completely new field, and you just name that. And this is where it's taking you to the review page. So there's going to be a lot of thinking right now. And now it's at the review page. So now you get to review everything that you just did in the past 5 or so steps and make sure that you created your prediction properly. And that's it. It's as simple as that. You just click on Build a Prediction, and in the next 24 hours, Einstein will build you a full model on predicting the likelihood of attrition, or whatever you want. So with that, I'm actually not going to build this prediction since it's already built, so I'm just going to X out of that. But it's that easy. Now, you just saw how to build this likelihood of attrition prediction with Einstein Prediction Builder. But how did we get this recommendation to pop up? Well, let's go into Einstein Next Best Action and set that up. So you go back to the Setup tab. In this case, we'll search for Next Best Action. And boom, we're at the setup for Einstein Next Best Action. And Einstein Next Best Action is created, is what helps pretty much determine which recommendations are surfaced is through these things called strategies. So you create a strategy in order to determine that. So we'll click on our telco strategy to take a look at it. And here's the telco strategy. And like I mentioned, these telco strategies are executing these recommendations based off of the business rules you create, and they'll surface the recommendation that matters the most or needs to be surfaced at the most effective time. So as you can see, these yellow boxes are different, where we load in our different recommendations. So this is the auto-renew recommendation that we initially saw, and this is the online security recommendation that we saw after. Here's some additional recommendations. And the recommendations flow from left to right, but the best way to understand how the strategy works is actually by going from right to left. So as you can see on the right, we have our winning propositions. This is the propositions that'll be surfaced. And if we move to the left, we see this gate that says, will attrit. So if we click into that, we can see that this is actually where we brought in our likelihood of attrition prediction. So you can see here that we have the likelihood of attrition, if that's greater than 20, will surface up an auto-renew offer. And if the likelihood of attrition is less than 20, then we'll serve up an upsell offer. So as you can see, greater than 20 goes up to auto-renew, less than 20 goes to this upsell section. And the auto-renew offers was created from our prediction that we created. Now, you can also create recommendations based off of hard and fast business rules. You don't have to just create recommendations based off of predictions. And so Next Best Action allows the ability to do that as well. So when you saw our online security recommendation pop up, that was mainly because the likelihood of attrition was low, but also because Anna was part of the continental US, or is in the continental US, and doesn't have online security already. So those are just normal business rules that you set to surface recommendations to customers. And so the strategy builder is a really simple drag and drop interface that you can use to create these strategies. And you can actually try it out for free right now. It's available in all orgs, up to 5,000 requests, just in the setup tab. So I highly recommend you check that out and start surfacing any kind of recommendations to your employees. But with that, that's the demo for our pre-built Einstein capabilities and then also our custom. So with that, Back to you, Marco.
Okay, so let's just finish this up here. Now, for those of you who are paying attention, we recently released, and I kind of alluded to it earlier, 2 new services that are under the banner of Einstein Platform Services. These 2 new services, yes, they are translation and OCR. Both of those are in pilot right now, but that's not exactly really what the news is. What the news really is that we now have this rig in Apex. So when you join the pilot, or eventually when the thing actually comes out, you'll notice that there's a whole new namespace in Apex called AI Tools. And in this namespace, we'll be putting these and many other machine learning powered capabilities. So whereas up to this point, we've been giving lots of love to the Salesforce admin to be able to set up these Einstein capabilities, now we're giving some love to Salesforce developers as well. And so, up to this point, if you were trying to build translation into your application, you'd have no choice but to call a third-party service like Google and Google Translate. You'd have to authenticate over there, make a REST call out. You'd have to make that stub thing in your test message, which sucks. And now, instead, it's a one-line call in Apex. It's aitools.mlservices.translate from this language to this language, this piece of text. And so these things will generally be exposed as very short Apex calls, as first-class standard Apex methods. So that's the real news that people don't generally talk about when they're doing marketing about this stuff. But that's what's actually true about these things. These are just the first 2 of many more that will be coming. And meanwhile, so you just saw next best action. And in the demo that Surin did, he did take into account a prediction that he had built, the prediction about attrition. But there's more that we can do there. In fact, there's more that we are about to do there. And so we are next month opening up, this is the first time I've been able to speak about this publicly, we're opening up a new pilot next month of some new capabilities in Next Best Action that will allow it to become self-learning. So imagine that, let's say I have my car insurance, my home insurance, my life insurance here, and imagine if there was an Einstein block. And that Einstein block could automatically build a prediction for whatever offers are behind it, and then sort those offers according to your predicted likelihood of taking them, while still respecting your business rules. Even if it predicts that you're 99.999% likely to take the life insurance, well, if you are 100 years old, we still can't offer it to you. So there's still business rules that go in there. But the idea here is to decrease the number of rules that you need to write, so that you don't need to write behavioral rules, that I don't need to offer this insurance to men over 35 in California that are X, Y, and Z. You can let the machine learn who's most likely to go for those offers, and that means that the rules that you would put in here are solely those hard and fast business rules, like I don't sell life insurance to people over 50. So that's a pilot that we're opening up in June. And so if you're interested, please contact your Salesforce account executive and ask them about the pilot for Next Best Action Intelligent Offers. That's what we call it internally. It probably will just be called Next Best Action because it's just going to be rolled into the whole thing later on. But we need to have a name, so there it is. And finally, now we actually have some time here, so we're going to open it up for questions in a little bit. There's a microphone right there, or you could just stand up and shout, wave your arms, whatever you want to do. We'll be here to answer it. But before I finish talking here, I do want to mention that the Einstein Trail Mix is the only trail mix in all of Trailhead that has its own domain name, trailhead.einstein.com. We'll take you to the Einstein Trail Mix. We have 2 different trails on Prediction Builder, one on Next Best Action. We have trails on Sales Cloud Einstein, Service Cloud Einstein. There are trails all over the place in which you can learn this stuff. We also will have office hours in the Einstein section just over there from 3:30 to 6, where I and much of my team will just be standing around waiting to answer your questions. So we look forward to meeting those of you who are interested. And if you do have any questions, now's your chance to ask them in public. Yes, the gentleman here. Besides Apex Code, are the Einstein Platform Services available in REST calls, is his question. Some of them are. So yes, some of the vision capabilities are, some of the language capabilities are, but let's be clear on our strategy here. We are not competing with AWS or GCP or any of that stuff. Our goal is not to just be a general purpose like, hey, you can use our intent extraction engine, because frankly, it'll be cheaper if you use the AWS one. Our goal is to make it super easy for you to use this stuff inside of Salesforce. So it's more important, from my perspective, for us to either package that in an application or put it in Apex code where it's easily consumable, because then it's not exactly just a commodity thing like you can get. So yes, some of these things are available through REST APIs. For those that don't have REST APIs, you could trivially make a global Apex class to make it into a REST API. So that's like a 4 lines of code exercise. But yeah, I mean, really our strategy is to featureize this, appize it, and productize it in a way that you can't get from commodity services. Good question, though. Yes, the lady there. Does the Service Cloud, so that's a good question, and more generally, I mean, regarding what comes out of the box and what doesn't, yeah. So Service Cloud Einstein, at least at the moment, well, that's a little bit nuanced, but there is a Service Cloud Einstein SKU that you can buy. It's listed $75 per user per month, and you can certainly negotiate with your account executive on the actual price of that. So it's extra right now. As I said, in the future, there might be parts of these things. I mean, some of these things will always be an extra cost, but yeah. Well, next best action, as he said, so the next best action part of that is just, you get 5,000 requests for free. So you can already begin kicking the tires on that. So that's a key piece. And what was the other thing I was trying to, oh yeah, Marketing Cloud. Incidentally, I mean, with regard to the other clouds, Sales Cloud Einstein is right now an extra, although opportunity scoring is starting to show up in all orgs now. So at least parts of that are starting to show up for free. Marketing Cloud Einstein is included in the top 2 editions of Marketing Cloud. So what Seren showed you is actually included. I mean, you got to turn it on, but it is included in the top 2 editions. And so, lots of people have been turning that on, actually. Commerce Cloud Einstein also just included. In fact, there's no charge for that one. Yes, gentleman here. So I have a dream, and that dream is Einstein, this gentleman's dream is Einstein voice chatbots for service. That is a strange dream. I tell you, that often turns into a nightmare, I have to tell you. But so that is a thing, and in fact, there's even a trail now on voice enabling a chatbot. It's what we haven't wired up within our product yet the 2 parts of that. That is the ASR, the transcription in, the speech to text out. We obviously have both of those capabilities now, but we haven't exposed them in that way yet. However, you can even today take a Salesforce chatbot, wire it to transcription in, speech to text out, and make a voice chatbot. I will tell you, it never works as well as you think it's going to work. I mean, honestly, even things that are designed, you ever call United's call center thing, like their IVR? It's really difficult to make a very good voice experience that's 2-way right now. So I will caution you, as I said, it's at least, if it's not a nightmare, it might be like one of those weird LSD trips, All right, I think we got time for one more question, then we'll wrap it up. Lady in the front, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So her question is regarding sort of responsible use cases of bots, which actually is a very good question. And it's true. I mean, I will tell you that do not expect your bot to be as smart as a human. Don't try to pose your bot as if it were a human. It is obviously not. And if it's not obvious from the get-go, it will be in like 2 sentences in. Where bots work best today are where you have a large number of the same type of question that can be phrased in different ways. Like password resets is sort of the canonical example. I lost my password, I forgot my password is lost, whatever. There's 15 million different ways you could say that. That's where something like intent extraction works well because it can understand all the different variants, provided that you train it. Bear in mind too, chatbots have to be trained. So that's another thing, and people, I think, don't intuitively recognize this, but you have to, more often than not, you have to have at least a chat channel, some kind of form of data that is in the same format to be able to train it, to help it understand all these different utterances. And it generally needs at least 150 examples of a given type of utterance to be able to understand that. So if you're going to go into the wonderful world of chatbots, start by keeping it simple, and bear in mind you're going to need some training data. All right? Good question. And thank you all for coming, and we'll see you over in the Einstein section. Cheers.